Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Turkey Chili Mac. That's right, welcome to another one of our yearly episodes on what the heck am I supposed to do with the rest of the leftover turkey. And there are two things that make for a great Thanksgiving leftovers recipe. The first one is, in no way should it remind you of the original meal. Plus, and just as important, it should be super easy and simple to make. And not only does this satisfy those two requirements, this also happens to be incredibly delicious and pretty nice to look at. So with that, let's go ahead and get started by sauteing one diced onion over medium-high heat in a little bit of olive oil, along with a spoon of salt. And what we're going to want to do here is cook this stirring for about 5 minutes or so, or until, yes, you guessed it, they start to soften up and turn translucent. And by the way, other than chopping up your leftover turkey meat, dicing this onion and maybe a few cloves of garlic is pretty much the only work involved here. But having said that, if you're really fatigued, you could just skip this step if you want. And this still would be very good, but make no mistake, it will taste better if you do this. And since this is going to take a few minutes, if we wanted to multitask, we could, if we want, pull together our chili seasoning mix, which for me is going to include a couple tablespoons of chili powder. And then for a little bit of heat, we'll also add some chipotle. And then besides that, we'll also want some ground cumin, as well as some freshly ground black pepper. And then in a little bit of a plot twist, believe it or not, a spoon of unsweetened cocoa, one of the great chili secret ingredients of all time. We will also do a very small but important pinch of cinnamon. And then last but not least, a little bit of dry oregano. And then I went ahead and gave that a stir, for no apparent reason. And then once that's set, we can go back and check our onions, which hopefully by now are properly translucent. And if that's the case, we can go ahead and add some minced garlic, as well as that seasoning mix we just put together. And then we're going to cook this stirring, but only for like a minute or two. All right, we're just taking the raw edge off that garlic, and also sort of waking up those spices in the hot oil. But we don't want those to burn, especially the cocoa. So what we'll do after 1 to 2 minutes is go ahead and add our chicken broth, or hopefully some nice beautiful turkey broth you made with the bones, along with 1 can of diced tomatoes. You know, the famous one with the roasted green chilies in it. We're also going to want to add at least 1 cup of tomato sauce or puree. Okay, either will work. And then what we'll do is go ahead and give this a stir, as well as raise our heat to high, because we want to bring this up to a simmer. And using high heat is the fastest way to accomplish that. And then what we'll do once that does come to a simmer is reduce our heat to medium-low, and then simmer this for about 15 minutes, after which we are free to add 1 pound of leftover turkey, which according to a recent made-up study, is the average weight of turkey still left over after day 3. And as you probably noticed, I gave mine a rough chop. Oh, and I'm also going to add 1 more cup of broth at this point, which you could if you want just add with the other 3. But quite often I like to scope things out and then decide, which I just did, and I decided I wanted this a little soupier. Oh, and if you happen to be stuck in one of those families that doesn't like the dark meat, this is an absolutely perfect way to use it up, since I think most cooks would agree the dark meat's going to work out even better to make a chili with. And then still on medium-low, we'll let this simmer for about 15 or 20 minutes before we move on to final production. Oh, and by the way, let's say for the sake of argument your turkey was a little bit dry. By chopping it up and throwing it in something like this, it is going to magically moisturize, and those feelings of inadequacy from a few days ago will quickly fade away. And then what we'll do once our turkey is simmered for about 15 or 20 minutes is crank up our heat to high, because we want to bring this up to a boil. But we're also going to give it a quick taste to see if we need more salt. All right, don't forget, we still have to add our beans and elbow macaroni to this. So I checked it out and decided it needed a touch more. And then besides that, we can go ahead and stir in our pinto beans, or of course the beans of your choice. And that's it. As this comes up to a boil on high, we'll go ahead and grab the lid, and then we'll stir in 1 cup of elbow macaroni, the official pasta shape of Chili Macs everywhere. And then as soon as we stir that in, we're going to quickly cover this, and then let it boil on high heat for exactly 5 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes is not enough, and 6 is too many. So set your timer. And then once that's boiled for 5 minutes covered, we'll go ahead and uncover it, and then give it a very thorough and thoughtful stirring. And then once that's been accomplished, we will turn off the heat. And if we taste a piece of the pasta with a spoon, which I'm about to do, you'll notice it is just barely tender, but not quite done. Because to achieve the perfect chili mac texture, what we have to do is cover this back up with the heat off, and then let it sit uninterrupted for exactly 5 more minutes. And as you're about to see, as that sits and rests, that macaroni is going to continue to absorb all those amazing cooking liquids. And it's going to swell up beautifully. And if everything goes according to plan, it should hopefully look something like this, which is looking pretty darn good if I say so myself. And then for one final optional touch, I like to stir in a little bit of grated cheddar cheese. Right, not too much, maybe like a half a cup, which I think adds a little touch of richness, which we would usually get in a chili mac from the fat in the beef. But here we don't have that, just our relatively lean turkey. But anyway, suit yourself. And that's it once that's been stirred in. And we've of course given it one last check for seasoning. We'll go ahead and grab a ladle and serve it up. And as you can see, I like my chili mac with a relatively thick texture. But if you don't, and maybe want yours a little more soupy, all you have to do is add a little more broth or stock to the recipe. And of course, exactly how much would be up to you. I mean, you are after all the Jack White of making your turkey chili mac right. But I'd say like 1 to 2 extra cups would do it. Oh, and speaking of white stripes, I'm going to go ahead and garnish this with a spoon of sour cream, since I really do enjoy eating this with that swirled in. We're also going to do a little bit of diced red onion, and then we'll finish up with some freshly chopped cilantro. And that's it, our leftover turkey chili mac is ready to enjoy. But before I do, let me apologize in advance for what you're about to see, which is going to be a bowl of chili mac sliding all over this plate underneath it, which I almost never use, but I'm in the new studio trying some new things, and I really should have had a napkin or doily underneath to prevent that. Wait, did I just say doily? But anyway, as distracting as that is, try to ignore it, and instead focus on just how incredible this chili mac was. And above and beyond just an absolutely fantastic way to use up leftover turkey, this is just an incredibly delicious and beautiful and comforting bowl of food. And at no point while you enjoy this, will you be thinking that you're eating leftovers from your Thanksgiving meal. Alright, this is so tasty and so different, it's never going to cross your mind. And no, just in case you're scared, you cannot taste cocoa or cinnamon. So please be brave and add those in. Alright, there's a lot of instances, and this is one of them, where you don't necessarily taste the spice or the seasoning, but if you didn't put it, it would seem like something is missing. And nobody wants to eat something that seems like there's something missing. But either way, your level of culinary courage notwithstanding, I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.